to my channel. I'm Louisa and welcome to the Bluestone Villa. This is my first home video on this account, but I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more because we do live in a fixer-upper. So today's video is going to be a kitchen tour, but it's going to be a kitchen tour with a bit of a twist because while it's a new kitchen for us, it is actually an upcycled second-hand kitchen that I personally believe, if I haven't told you that, you would not know at all. So I'm going to talk you through how we designed and planned this kitchen, what we bought brand new to help kind of complement the aesthetic we were going for, and kind of what our vision was for this space, and also, of course, what it looked like before, which was pretty grim. Before I really get going, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background on the property itself. So we live in an 1880s semi-detached Victorian villa in Tunbridge Wells in Kent in the UK. We have 3 floors in this house, and we've really just done work on the ground floor to date. We've owned this property since the end of March 2019. We literally moved in the day after we completed. But I'll give you a bit of a background as to, what we need to do at the house and why we decided to do the kitchen first. The prior owners for the property actually owned it since 1995, and I believe they did live here as kind of their family home for quite some time, but they had a second property which was like a holiday home abroad, and I guess they ended up moving there full time eventually. And they have rented this house out since kind of 2010, 2011. The last renters moved out in December 2017, and they put the property on the market in January 2018. It actually went under offer with other people. We didn't know this house existed. We were in the process of selling James's flat at the time, but we kind of weren't really properly looking because we just weren't still in a position to. And the sale actually for this property fell through, thankfully, for reasons outside of the property itself. It went back on the market towards the end of August, but again, we still weren't in a position. But I did look at this house on Rightmove every day, literally every day. And I just really felt like it was our house, even though I felt it would probably maybe couldn't stretch to the asking price. And yeah, eventually it got taken off the market in October. I was devastated. And then towards the end of November, when we were finally ready to make a move on actually looking at places seriously and perhaps putting an offer on something that was right for us, this place came back on the market with a different agent. And the rest, my friends, is what they call history. Anyway, as I said, it was rented out for quite a number of years before we moved in, and also it was obviously empty since December 2017. So it was really just a shell of a house. It's got some really lovely character and period features, some of which we've really started to kind of bring back to life, which is quite exciting. But it was really just a shell. As you can imagine, it was a rental. Every room is magnolia. It's pretty bleak. The kitchen was actually the only room that had a bit of colour, but it was grim. Not so much the colour itself, but just the whole space. It was kind of a galley-like kitchen, really quite dark. I mean, it probably doesn't look the brightest right now just because the weather is a bit sad outside, but now when the sun is out, in the morning in particular, just the shadows it casts in certain areas and the sunbeams that come in is amazing, and we just could not have anticipated that it would ever look like that. Anyway, we wanted to do the kitchen first because it was particularly grim and we have bigger plans. So this house is a really long-term project for us. We've got lots of different projects that we plan to do across hopefully our long ownership of this house. We wouldn't say it's necessarily our forever home, but we do plan to be here for a minimum 10 years, but probably longer. But some of the other projects are kind of more time and cost intensive. So We obviously have to save for those. And one of the things that we do want to do is extend the kitchen out, add more glass. I'd like to add a utility room in that direction too, but we'll see whether that happens, because it is kind of a nice to have. The kitchen space in general is absolutely fine. And as I said, because some of the other projects are so time and cost intensive, we really want to save for those. So knowing that we might not do this kitchen for like 10 years or more meant that we knew it had to be the first thing we did when we got into this house. We just couldn't live with the kitchen the way it was, maybe for a year or so, but not for 10. And hats off to every single person that does do that, because yeah, wasn't going to happen. It was so disgusting. It wasn't even just like the kitchen itself, just being in here just made my skin crawl a little bit. And it was partly down to things like this, for example. So they had two low level, like a fridge and a freezer, really like cheap naff appliances. You know, they were renting it out. So you would, wouldn't you? But we got rid of them in like the first week that we lived here. And I kid you not, there was a cornetto floating around in the freezer. The last renters moved out in December 2017. We moved in on the 29th of March 2019. It was pretty disgusting. So we didn't really want to use anything in here. We knew we had to buy all new appliances. We came from a flat before where obviously everything was fitted, so we sold the flat with everything. So we needed everything brand new in here. Disclaimer before we get going as well, we could have saved so much more money if we had done this ourselves. We personally decided not to. We both work full time, and we have planned to do a lot of the other kind of cosmetic work ourselves in this house, and we have done that. Last year was dedicated to that, especially the ground floor. James especially did so much work, and we kind of had a bit of a deadline of Christmas because we wanted to host Christmas. So we worked really hard to kind of make that possible. But the kitchen was the one thing that we were just like, we do want somebody to do that, because it's a lot of work. And we kind of just thought, we went the first few months without really using the kitchen that was already here. So we didn't want to then drag that process out any longer by trying to fit a kitchen ourselves at the weekends. So we did have somebody put this in, which is where we spent the most of our money. So if you can put it in yourself and you're happy to do that, then absolutely, obviously, go for it. Good for you. You'll save so much money, and you know, you'll really get a feel for how much money you could save when I kind of walk through some of the costs of some of the things that we did purchase brand new even. Also work if you already have a kitchen in situ and it's actually a fine kitchen and you just want to kind of put your stamp on it. I think that's the thing that I find so fascinating. As I said, it is a kitchen tour with a bit of a twist, and there's another kind of turn of events, because we didn't just upcycle the kitchen that was in situ here. We actually couldn't, which I'll go on to explain in a second. And we actually took another kitchen from another property and put it in place here and upcycled it. So that's also an option. So the kitchen here, we had initially thought in the process of the purchase that we would just make do with the kitchen that was in place, have it repainted, have new flooring, new kitchen surfaces, new tiles, that kind of thing, just to put our stamp on it. But we kind of hadn't really anticipated or remembered just how naff the kitchen was that was here. We soon quickly realized, so it wasn't just the gross factor, it was things like bits of the kitchen was being held up with duct tape. I kid you not. Lots of the different bits, like I guess like these things, they were kind of deeper on the original kitchen that was in here. And yeah, they were like, didn't fit properly. They weren't all cut to the right size. All of the knots in the wood, which I don't know what wood it was, because whatever it was super cheap. It was really flimsy. were all coming through the green paint. So it just looked terrible. And I will insert a shot, hopefully, of over where our sink originally was. It was overhanging the door architrave, which is just absolutely ridiculous. It looked so terrible. I don't know how we didn't notice when we were kind of first living here. And not only that, but it just kind of added to that really narrow kitchen feel. And one of the things that I would say we've really managed to do is open up this space, make it feel so much larger and so much brighter, as I said. And it looks really sleek, in my opinion. So I'm very, very happy. It's the only room that I would say is like fully done in this house. As I said, we've worked on the downstairs and we have done all of the other rooms downstairs, but there's still loads to buy for them. There's still kind of certain projects that we need to do in each room. This room is pretty much done. There's a few little like zhuzhing bits I'd like to do, but ultimately it's ready to go. And I absolutely adore it, especially when it's clean, like it is right now. It's just such a nice feeling. And I probably like it the most when it's evening and I just have these underlights on. I barely actually turn on our main lights because I just love the glow that these give off, and it just feels so cozy and lovely. Anyway, I'm going to probably stop rattling on here and I'm going to rattle on taking you around, showing you what we changed, what we did. Yeah. So first of all, as promised, I will share a picture of what the kitchen looked like before. And I'm also going to share a picture of the kitchen that we took and put into this space. So we were super lucky with this. Our kitchen fitter, when he came to quote to paint and do the other work that we wanted him to do in the kitchen originally, he told us basically that he felt that if he painted it, we'd spend a lot of money on him for probably a longer period of time because he would need to do so much more work because it was such a poor kitchen. And he also said he could not promise that in 6 months' time, the knots wouldn't come back through on the wood. So he recommended either getting a cheap new kitchen from Howden's or something like that, or looking on Gumtree and getting a second-hand kitchen and having that put in. So the reason he recommended that is because he said so many people will put a new kitchen in with the view that they're going to sell the property, you know, not too far down the line. And a kitchen is one of the things that really help sell a property if it's done nicely, but it won't be done to the buyer's taste most likely. And so a year down the line, they rip it out and it's practically a brand new kitchen, and you can buy it for a really good price on Gumtree and places like that. So we did actually have a look around on Gumtree, and there were kitchens, just like he said, that looked great. They just weren't what we wanted for in here. And because we were kind of working to such a short time frame and we did want to get going as soon as possible, we just didn't come across one that would work for us. But if you've got a bit of extra time, I definitely think shop around and take a look. But we totally lucked out. James's dad moved into his house a few years ago, and it just so happened that when we were having our kitchen done, he also planned to have his kitchen. And he said we could have his. So he ripped it out for us. James went and collected it, and it hung out in our dining room for the longest time. It was the biggest mess. We had way more units than we needed, but that didn't matter. We reconfigured the space. We kind of used what we could, and then the rest we did get rid of. So we got our kitchen for free, essentially. And then we also got our cooker, which is right behind me, for free as well. It was also at James's dad's house, you know, a range style. It's not a range, it's a belling. A range style belling like that would probably be about £1,000. So we saved so much money. We are fully aware that it's probably been in James's dad's house for quite a while. So it's probably not going to last, but it's definitely going to be able to tie us over for the meantime. I think even if it packed up tomorrow, I would kind of be like okay with that, because we've had a year's use out of it before we've needed to buy another one. I am rambling all over the place.
So I'm just going to insert a few pictures here. These were kind of inspiration pictures that I found both kind of before and after we started the kitchen process. So my vision for the space was very much centered around kind of a New York deli inspired feel. I lived in New York for a year myself. I really love the city. I love all of its kind of restaurants and bars and that kind of rustic meets industrial meets modern kind of vibe. I have no idea if that's a thing, but that's what we're going to go with here. So I kind of wanted to feel like on a Saturday morning, I could get up, go downstairs and just have the best bagel, smoked salmon and cream cheese sat at kind of a counter and just, you know, feel a little bit like I'm at Russ and Daughters in the Lower East Side. If you've not been there, highly recommend. They are just epic. They're so well known. It's an amazing deli. And in fact, actually the last time my parents went there, Jeff Goldblum was sat next to them at the counter. But anyway, side note. I really wanted to kind of incorporate the kind of coffee and bagel spaces and just, you know, quirky little spaces that I ate at whilst I was in New York in 2012 to 2013. I basically ate my way around the city back then. My friend Haley, shout out, Tiptoes in the Kitchen. She was also in New York for 6 months whilst I was there interning at Time Out magazine in the food and drinks department. So she had like the know on everything, and we just spent the whole time going around and eating in different places. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from. I really like kind of the idea of exposed brick, you know, metro tiles, industrial style lighting. I like the idea of kind of cookies on display, etc. So that's really where this came from. We loved the idea of actually exposing brick in this space. We thought about taking the ceiling out altogether and kind of raising the roof. I forget what that's called. Not raising the roof. What is it? Anyway, essentially having kind of the exposed kind of roof and bricks, but they needed a lot of work. And as this is kind of our long-term interim kitchen, we just thought we'll save that for kitchen 2.0. So we enter the kitchen from the dining room, and this is what it looks like. So I'll take you around. As I said, most of the units came from James's dad's house, but we did have some made. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is an original cupboard from James's dad's house. As you can see, it's got kind of all of this detailing here. So we repurposed that for the kitchen. And as I said, most of the cupboards in here were repurposed in that way. However, we wanted an integrated fridge and freezer, and we did not have an integrated fridge and freezer in James's dad's place. So our guy remade basically new doors for us that looked as close as possible to the original. You don't really notice, you have to kind of look really closely. Essentially, it doesn't have as much detail. So this is the kind of new made one out of wood and MDF, and this is the original solid wood kitchen. So we got a Smeg fridge and freezer integrated in here. As I said previously, they just had two small white units that actually were kind of over here. But we knew that we wanted something that was more efficient, space efficient, I should say, because we actually didn't have a dishwasher in here when we moved in. There was only space for a washing machine, so we wanted to make sure we had space for a dishwasher as well. What was I going to say? We also had, they used to have a cupboard here. So they used to have a cupboard where the fridge freezer was, and there was actually a radiator right next to it. The radiator was there, but it was an absolute pain because every time you opened the cupboard, it would basically knock into the radiator. Anyway, so we took the radiator out, and now we actually have just under cupboard heater. I forget what it's called, but I'm sure James will be able to tell me. So the kitchen used to have cupboards all the way down, all the way up the top there, all across there, all down the bottom there, and they actually also came round the corner and next to the door here. So it really made the space feel really quite narrow. And then here was where we had the kitchen sink. As I said, it overhung the door architrave, which was just so weird. Essentially, it was kind of overhanging by quite some way. So it overhung to like there. Again, making this sense of kind of really, a sense of kind of really narrow kitchen. But we did love this particular area just because, let me see if you can see it here. As you can see, there is a church steeple there. So we really, really loved that. So we did want to make something of this space. So we originally had Howdens come round to look and quote for the kitchen. And again, this is a really hot tip. They came round and quoted for the job and mapped out the kitchen, and we genuinely did consider going with them and just buying a cheaper kitchen. At that point, we did not have access to James's dad's kitchen, and it just worked out so expensive that we didn't go down the route. So our cupboard door handles, we really ummed and ahed over these, but we ended up going with these kind of Metro bar handles. I won't show you in the cupboards because they're a mess. But these Metro bar handles, and we got these from Wayfair actually. But then we also had these adorable Dowsing and Reynolds door handles, which we really loved. James was not sure on having these. Our kitchen fitter was also worried they were a bit too small for some of our bigger cupboards. So I just chose a few spots that I wanted to have them. So I've got it for this under cupboard sink. Under cupboard, obviously, under cupboard, you know what I mean. And I also have them on our only 2 drawers that we have in the kitchen here. So those were Dowsing and Reynolds. So we did a bit of a mix and match, and I feel like that really works. It kind of gives such a nice feeling. We had the kitchen painted in Farrow and Ball railings, which we really, really love the dark blue. I know it's such the color of the moment, especially for kitchens, but really is stunning. And then, as I said, this is the Belling cooker. Again, they just had a very small, teeny tiny, like kitchen oven and hob. It was just probably like, maybe like that size. And so we're so happy with this. We're so pleased that we managed to get this. And I just can't believe that we got it for free. So yeah. And then over here is this, I love this tray. It's partly covered up because it's actually got our address on it. But this is a gorgeous tray that James's mum gave us as a moving in present. It's actually got the date that we completed on the property. That's kind of a bit of a mess over there. We've kind of just ended up loading it up. This is what I mean by I want to do certain things to style this up better. Our kettle we got from John Lewis, I think, and was something that came from the flat. I I should also talk about our bread basket was also John Lewis. Again, it came from the flat, but it just works perfectly in here. Then we have our toaster, which was a real impulse purchase actually, but I think it really works in here. It's got copper tones to it, which obviously I don't love as much because we've got brass tones in here, but I don't think it's that big a deal. It was actually like under £20 from Aldi, and it's retro style, and that's why I think it works so nicely in this kitchen. I'm sure we'll eventually invest in a nicer, maybe more expensive toaster at some point. But for now, I just saw that when I was doing a weekly shop. We didn't have one. We were using like the oven to toast in the flat and also here. And I just thought it would be perfect to get something like that. Then we moved to the back of the kitchen, and this is really my showstopper piece, these tiles. I fell in love with these. I really wanted metro style tiles. The vision for the kitchen, as I said, was New York deli style, and so I knew quite early on that I wanted this kind of wall of tiles. But we thought we'd just go with plain. We went to Tops Tiles and found these, and we both fell in love with them. So it was great that it was a mutual decision. I'll take you up a bit closer, but I think they're called Vine, Vigene. And their gloss effect, you could get them matte, but we just personally preferred them in gloss. And they've got this kind of marbled, darker effect to them. I just think it's so smart. I'm really, really in love with these. I think it just makes the kitchen. And then this cookie jar is kind of building into my New York deli aesthetic. As I said, I've still got lots of styling to do, and I want to kind of get lots more bits and pieces like this. But I actually saw this, let's straighten this up. I actually saw this in the window of a charity shop down the road from our house, but I wasn't quick enough, and I've been looking out for it. They sell loads online, like in John Lewis and places, for like £12, but I actually found this in Asda, and I think it was £6 or £7, so complete bargain. We got our brass tap from Howden's. Let me straighten that up. We got this from Howden's, and I think it was about £200, just under, with the trade discount from the guy that we were working with. And then we've got a Butler sink here. The Butler sink is really small, and most people are like, really? Do you wash up in that? We do most of our dishwashing in our dishwasher. So this is really just for kind of some of our glasses and stuff. But I really wanted a Butler sink, so as you can imagine. And then I bought this great hand soap in HomeSense. It's just run out, but I'm going to carry on refilling this because I just love the jar. I love that it's kind of this big chunky thing. It was £6 in HomeSense. They probably still sell some, I reckon. And it's literally only just run out, and I bought it probably this time last year. So that's amazing. And then we've got hand cream because obviously at the moment we're both washing our hands so much with COVID-19. This is just from Aldi. It's like a Joe Malone pomegranate noir ripoff. It's really, really lovely. This candle, I don't actually love that much, but it's also from Aldi. It's kind of sweet almond and macaroon. I don't love it, but we're going to burn it just to finish it off. And then this, I love this. This is a retro milk bottle. You remember when they used to have like the adverts on? So it's a Ready Breck advert. I bought that at a vintage fair in Bournemouth when I went to visit my sister at university once. And I think I paid just like £5 for it. It's brilliant. And then over here, actually, I should have hidden some of this stuff. These are two jars that just need to go back. One needs to go back in the cupboard, one needs to go back to James's mum. But these are make do at the moment, but we've just got kind of washing tablets in them and dishwasher tablets. I want to, as I said, get proper jars and stuff for the kitchen. I don't really want any kind of branded stuff outside. Like, I don't want any branded stuff like on the shelves. I really want to have the same aesthetic run through. So I do want lots of jars, etc. But for now, these were just kind of all we had from when people have given us, like, I don't know. I think my parents gave me something in one of them, for example. My windowsills is probably one of the areas I don't love. At the moment, we've just got some things growing up here. So I'm trying to grow an avocado from the stone. Nothing's happened yet. It's been like that for ages. And I think I actually did it the wrong way around. So I'm not sure whether to abort ship yet. That's some basil that we're growing. And then we've got some tomatoes and some other herbs that are growing in here. We need to plant these outside. This is the one thing that really does need resolving. It's the back door. We want to keep a stable door, but we don't want to keep this one just because it's got a cat flap in it and we don't have a cat. So we do want to get rid of it, but we just haven't got round to that yet. We think we might paint it as a first port of call, and then eventually when we get desperate, purchase a new door. So then we move on to our coffee bar. So this is where our original kitchen sink was. As I said, we really wanted to keep something over here because it's got such a beautiful view of the church steeple, but it definitely wasn't going to be a sink because of how much space it would require. So we decided to put like a breakfast bar, or we kind of call it a coffee bar, in here. This is where we sit, I would say, most weeknights when we get home from work, and have dinner in here as more of a casual eating space. I work from home here a lot as well. So we've got our Nespresso machine. This cupboard here is actually, was like a leftover cupboard that we didn't need anything for. And then we realized that we didn't have a bin. So we actually fitted a bin in here. And then this is a great little hack. This is an old dishwasher rack. It's actually not old. I bought it a year ago when we moved in here, just for like $4.99 or something from Wilko's. We don't want to use it now that we've got the kitchen in place, but I thought it was a bit of a waste. So we're using it to store all our shopping bags and stuff in. It didn't quite fit, so James had to saw off the back. But I mean, I think that's a great use of something. So another upcycle trick. This is where we keep our coffee capsules. We've also got some plugs behind here, which is probably my biggest bugbear. And I'm trying to figure out what we do with wires and stuff around here. We do have the USB ports as well. Again, this windowsill isn't really how I might have it. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's like phallic something there. But we have our Alexa. Sorry, you'll be able to see all of our garden rubbish there because there's no garden waste collection at the moment.
I don't know that one.
Oh, hello. Sorry, so yeah, there's no garden waste collection. Obviously the tips are closed, and we've been doing loads of work in the garden, so we've just got loads of junk there. Yeah, this isn't really how I want it. This is just kind of evolved here for the time being, so I don't know what we'll end up doing. This is propagated mint from just a cutting from the supermarket. I mean, I bought the whole cutting and then I cut it and put it in here. But I just think that's amazing. Anyway, and then, as I said, I'll come maybe this direction. But then we have our seating area. These bar stools are from Rocket St. George. They were about £300 for the pair. I really love them. They do them in brass as well, and I really love the brass ones the most, but I was just a bit worried about them being a bit too much in this space. But now I kind of wish I had got them. And then our flooring is Antico flooring, and it is, I guess, faux parquet flooring. So Anticos are kind of, it's not lino, can't really think, but they come as separate tiles anyway. The flooring, I think, with the glue was under £300, which I think is amazing. So we actually spent then about £250 having it fitted. So the flooring was under £500. I forgot to say the tiles, again, were super cheap, and we have some left over should there be any issues. And we also use the same tiles for our splashback over here. And again, I think they were about $250 maybe. And we still have a ton of like the stuff to put them up with as well, I think. So I feel like that's amazing. And then the last thing on the coffee bar I forgot to say, which is like my Pièce resistance, and my lights. So these are my babies. Oh, no, not there. So these are called Brooklyn pendant lights, and they are from Industrial, and I just love them. I basically wanted to feel like I was coming into Russ and Daughters or somewhere in New York City and be able to sit there and have a bagel and cream cheese and just feel uber cool. So that takes us to the end of our kitchen tour. The only thing I didn't really cover off in here were our worktops. These are earthstone, so they are in between kind of a laminate and a stone of some kind, like a quartz or a marble. They give off that same effect, but it's actually kind of a thick chipboard with, I think, acrylic around it. So it's cold to touch. They look really smart in here. We just unfortunately had a few little niggles with them. We're kind of over it now, but yeah, I didn't want to not mention them at all, but I also wouldn't be hugely recommending them. And actually the Glacier White, which we think was half of the issue because of the particular version we chose, has been discontinued anyway. So yeah, so that brings us to the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I think in retrospect, I should have planned it a bit better. I do feel like I've waffled throughout this, so I'm hoping you did take away what I was hoping you would. If you have absolutely any questions about anything in our kitchen or how we did it, please feel free to drop a comment below. I'll always respond. And yeah, if you like what you see, please do subscribe to my channel and give us a thumbs up. I'm hoping to do some more kind of house tours, DIY projects, and also kind of renovation updates as well across my channel.